Okay, hi, this is for lecture 2 and this is example how we do how we use CSS and this is our this is website which is called GCTOR. We'll use it to simulate our code and let me show how it works. So here we write for example here we can write exactly CSS and let me show. So it says font, you can say for example font family. You can write Helvetica. Helvetica, maybe you have heard like something like Arial times New Roman from the Word, Microsoft Word editing. So this is something like this. When you write it, run. Now it's in Helvetica. What can be others? For example, like this color green. Right here. Color green. Now it says it is yellow, so you can change the color. This is actually not so please note that this one this is not text. You can write on the color semicolon green. This is on the visualization of this program, and you can do this one, for example, body background color. Oh, okay, so the text and this thing are same, so I write pink, and now it's become pink. Some other CSS properties, you can use this one, border. Like I can write here image source. Okay, so I should upload the files. So libraries, now there you go. Okay. So I will take some image, like let's say cat image. Okay, so they are actually very big, so we have to copy the URL on this big. It's big. Copy image address. I put it here. This is the image address, and you see the image of cat here. And for example, I want to change the width and height of it, like it's 200 pixels. Okay, so it becomes smaller. Now I want, for example, use like the program like this. So yeah, I do something like this. Image, and I write here border 1 pixel solid red. So you see here borders of this image, and you can make it more, for example 5 pixels, and it's become much more bigger. Okay, also text alignment, I will show it later. And then 100 predefined. So what about the colors? Colors can be like this one, like text, and colors can be, you can write it by like this operation. So it means that first two numbers are for red and green and blue. They are presented in hexadecimal format, so it means that there is no red and there is full of green and there is no blue, so this color will be right blue. Also there is this one, RGBA. RGBA means that it is transparent. Later I will show the examples of it when we'll have some examples. Okay, so you can try this one with so let me show the next thing is so it says that describes content in HTML, describes the content structure of web page made up building blocks called elements, HTML is awesome, etc. Okay, let me show. So actually, any web page, any HTML elements consist of three things, like block, inline, and inline block. So this is also like one variant, and metadata. So what we can do, this is the block elements. Block elements means that, for example, this example, okay, so block elements is this one, h1, h1, hello world, h1, salam alaikum. Okay, so this is block elements. Why they are block elements? Because they have so let's see the definition. It says that take up the full width of the page, have a height and width, can have block or inline elements. So let's take this one. Take up the full width of the page. Width is this part. So what does it mean? We actually don't see why it takes full width, but let me show. So for example, I can assign new style here, which we'll call bright solid red. Run. So we see that one. You see that this one h1 takes all lengths, all lengths of the page. So this is the first part. Have a height and width. So this means that I can change its height 20 pixels and width, okay, like 300 pixels. So height, let's change it, for example 200 pixels or 150. So actually what we see that hello world, this text is it takes all lengths. So it takes there can be no elements in the line of this element. So this is block elements. Let's write it here, block elements. So there is no elements in this place. Like it takes h1, this h1 takes all line. There is no other elements on this line. Second part, it has height and width, so you can assign them height 150 pixels, so it will take only 150 pixels, and width height 150, and you can assign width, so width will be 300 pixels. So you can set it like here in this place. The next thing is so here example almost same. H1 and P are they are all together block elements, so they take all lines. So there can be no neighbors. There can be no neighbors in one line. What does this look like? Okay, block level. And you can also assign something like this with 50%, which can be modified. And next one is inline elements. So this is inline elements. This is a link. So let me put it. So I will put it into the comments. So after that I can show it. And let me show. Okay, so sorry. For example, ahref. Link. So if you don't know, this is the actual link to other page. So and what we see that the link and link to are on same line. So as you seen before, like here, I take up this one, and this one. So we see that hello world takes all the place here. I can remove this one, hate. So hello world takes all line, and there is no neighbors for hello world. And same for salam alem, but for link and link to, they can be put together. So this is the main one of the main principles of inline elements. Inline elements take up only as much width as needed. So, for example, link. It needed some amount of place for all 4 letters, so it takes only this place. After that, cannot have width and height. I cannot set the width and height for A. I can write it here, 150 pixels, but it will not be. It will not have any. It will not have any. There will be no change. It will not have no effect. Okay. 250 pixels and okay, same. And cannot have a block element child. I will show it later. Cannot be positioned. It also will be shown later. Must position its containing block element instead. So it's also later. But the main difference that is link A is inline element. So they do not take all line. They only take what they need. But in contrary, H1 take all line. Of course, it can make you can make its size smaller, but you can take all as it takes all line and it doesn't give others some place. Okay, let's continue. So we have said that there are 2 types of elements. One of them is inline and the other is a block element. And let me show again the differences. Like this is A. I have link A, link. For example, this is link and it is inline element, so it takes not all the width, but only takes place which is needed. For example, if we place 2 links like this one, link 2, you have 2 links in one line, and because they are inline elements, inline, this means that we can they will take only place that is needed. Next thing is, for example, if you want these links to be taken all the length, for example, like block elements, you can do something like this: A display block. Right? So now you see that they take all the widths, all the rows, so there are no neighboring elements. So you write like something like this, 200 pixels, and you can, for example, set background color red. Okay, so you see that it can have widths, and it also can have height. Okay. You see that one, so they have height of 100 pixels, and same for you can change the display of display type of paragraph or header, which are blocks, so you can change them to inline. So for example, we do it like this: paragraph. So paragraph is also this block, and if you write something like this, the text, okay, you write something like this. and after that you write background color. Right, okay, so to see what does it take, and then after that I write something like this, width, no, not it's display inline. And now you see that they are absolutely like a link element, anchor. So this is now we can change the behavior of these elements. So it says this inline elements ignore widths. You can set, as I showed before, you can set the width of the element, inline element, to any value, but it will not change. You can set also height, but also it will not change, because the inline elements doesn't look to the width or height attributes. They may have, but they do not doesn't look. And so now we have one more thing. So as we said, display means that it has display block elements cannot have neighbors. So for example, here you have some element and you cannot have element next to it. So if there is an element, you cannot have element next to it. It must be below. And also we said that block elements have width and height, but inline elements, they can have neighbors, but they cannot have width or height. So for example, links like link 1, link 2, you can they will have only element of width. So for example, let me show again. So for example, you want to make some menu. Okay, let me show it on the example. Like, let me open bbc.com. So for example, I want, but not bbc.com. Maybe it's not better, but good example. But for example, you want to have home. Okay. Okay, so these are the links. Okay, but this indentation. Okay. Ref. So I want to do this some menu. Okay, it will say sports, politics. So okay, to make it more realistic, I can make it like this. Sports HTML. So okay, let me do something like this. A will have border 1 pixel solid and for example, we can also use something like this. Text decoration none. It means that it will not have some elements. Also, for example, I want to do what I want to do. I want them to be, these items to be of same width and height, of same width. So for example, I want them to be widths of 200 pixels. So you see that it doesn't change. Why? Because these elements are inline elements. So you can assign widths, but it will not affect it. And what can I do? If I make it display block, so it will be something like this. You see this problem. But for example, I want them to be on one. I want them to be on one line, like tuk tuk tuk, 3 elements. If I do display inline, it will not take this width, but I want this width to be present. So what I can do, I can use this one, inline block. Inline block. Okay. So what is this inline block? Let's read the definition. Definition says that width is the size of the content, can have height and width. So these elements, like block elements, they have width and height. They can have block element as a child. Okay, it's also can be. Later we'll see this one, and can be positioned also. We can see this. So width is the size of the content. It takes only as much space as needed. So main difference is this. These elements can be on one line next to each other, while block elements cannot have neighbors. They have neighbors only from top or bottom, but these elements can be on one length. Also, there is something like this. So now these elements are put here, so you can also make it more beautiful, like you can say text align center. Okay, let's change the color. Like black. Okay. So the link will be black. Also, we can change the font size, like 24 pixels. So now this is up the links, which look like menus. Okay, so this is here also we have images. They have widths, and they like show this one. Actually, images are work exactly as inline block, so it's by default. So this one I showed you. So we have block inline block, and some others. There are different displays, but now we'll not show it because it's not needed to understand. There are many different displays which can differently work on differently. You can use them to create different layouts. Block flows top to bottom, has height and width. Inline flows left to right, doesn't have height and width. Inline block flows left to right, has height and width. So we see that block. So this is the general differentiation. Flows top to bottom. It goes top to bottom. Has height and width. Inline flows left to right. So it takes one element, and goes like to specific direction. While inline block has like mix of two of them. It like block, it has height and width, but it is also as inline, which is flows left to right. Also, the next element is div and span. What are they? So this is generic text with no intended purpose of style. So what does it mean? Generic means like general. So it doesn't have any style, default style, or it doesn't have any purposes. Purpose means that, if, for example, if you press them, or it is like if you have H1, 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 this means that this is some header. This is the main part of the whole story, like. Or you have paragraph P, it means that it is like for some text inside of this, and it is structured in paragraph. But div and span doesn't have any purpose. It's generic block element or generic inline element. We will use div and spans for many purposes. For example, you want to containerize some elements. For example, you have many elements and you want to specify them, like this is the window for menus, and you write div, for example, id menus, and span, for example, you want to highlight some part of the text. So let me show some example. Like, let's say the class will be held at 9 o'clock. So what I want to be this text, for example, this 9 o'clock text, to be different from others. So I can do it by doing this. I can do this span, and I can write it here. For example, let's say span background color yellow. So you see that it's like highlighting. You want to highlight some part of text. Mostly it's used for text. We use it as highlighter. Background color yellow. Also we can do, for example, something like this. We have many texts, and I want, for example, like say to take this part into different, like I can say div, and for example I want to apply to this div some style, like say color will be green. So all of these paragraphs which are inside of div, they will have green color. So it's also like highlighting or taking some items into one item as item. Mostly it's used in like, again, OpenBBC.com. For example, this part is menu. I can show it to you. So actually use this, you have to use it. So this you press right button and then right inspect, and then you see that, okay, so we have this div. We have all elements inside of this div will have all items. So by using div, we combine all of the items inside menu into one general item, so you can apply styles to this item and etc. So again, div and span, they are generic elements. Div for generic block elements, and span generic inline elements. Okay, so the next thing is CSS selectors and IDs, classes and IDs. Let me show again. So for example, let's remove this one. So let's say our text is something like this. And I. So let's say I want to highlight two different items, like time and date, time and place. So, but I don't want them to be same. For example, I don't want them to be of same colors. Okay. So I don't want to be like this. Okay, but I want them to be different. So for example, to do this, we can use this one. Uh, we can write here id time, and here id place. So let's remove it. I can write it something like this: time and place. So what does it mean? Time means, so for example, let's say background color will be red, and here background color will be green. So now this dash symbol means that it finds all items with ID time and gives them this style. This style is background color red, and this place is background color green. So you see that how it changes. Okay, we can make it more beautiful, like light green. So now it's like real highlighting. So also we have this class selector. The difference is that you see the text element with ID equal to ABC, and this one is elements with class ABC. So what does it mean? It does mean that this is the elements. Second one is in plural, and first one is single. So first one ID can be only one, and class can be many of them. So for example, mostly I can write, for example, let's say class info. And here's class info. So for example, we made this one paragraph will have class info. I'm making it more beautiful. So class info, and I make it so let's say they have not background color, but font weight bold. Weight bold means like bold in Microsoft Word, like in Russian жирный, so the text will be bold. So you see that all items with class info will be bold, and paragraph without this class will not be bold. Classes and IDs. So again, example, ID title. So this is ID title. You write dash title and color purple. So this is the purple. Also, this one M is for embedded. It's for italic text. Mostly it is for italic text. Is due Friday. Is goes out Monday. All homework due at 11:59. More in class and IDs. Class and ID are special attributes that can be used on any HTML element. Class used on one or more elements identifies a class of collection of elements. I use it on exactly one element per page, identifies one. So again, as I said before, ID is used exactly one element. Class use it one or more elements. Sometimes, for example, it maybe not use it, maybe zero elements. Can apply multiple classes by space separating them. Also, this one is very important. So, for example, there can be many classes. Let me show some example. So, for example, we have some lessons. let's say algorithms, programming, web technologies, and Turkish. So let's say that we will specify like lessons of computer science by class CS. Let's say .cs background color yellow. And so let's say that we are specifying computer science lessons, so we want to highlight them like up, up, up. But we also want to with this like for example some of these courses will be online also. So let's say algorithms and Turkish will be online. And let's say that online will be like text decoration. So let's say this is the notation of how onlines are preserved. So this is something like this. If you have one class, you write it like this: P class online. If you have two classes for one item, so you write them by space separating. So maybe it will be like so items, for example, many advertisements, and one of them is for new, and you want to highlight it. Or for example, let's make it online, not only text decoration but also border 1 pixel solid blue. So it will be like something like this. Okay. The next thing is